On the savannah, not every hunt begins with the search for prey. There are days when the first thing humans must face is the presence of another predator. The morning unfolds slowly. The early sunlight is not yet harsh, just enough to highlight the smallest details on the dry ground. The Hadzabe group leaves the camp in a familiar rhythm, each carrying a bow and the experience accumulated from years of living with this land. The hunt always begins with walking and observing. They move slowly, never spreading too far apart, every step intentional. They read the ground, notice flattened grass, and listen to faint sounds in the distance. At times, the group pauses at a faint trace, then quietly moves on. For the Hadzabe, understanding does not lie in words but in perception. The prey may be ahead, but it is never the only thing they focus on. They listen to the direction of the wind, watch birds suddenly change course. These small signals are enough to remind them that they are not the only ones hunting on this land. The breeding season is approaching, and the pace of the hunt slows down. At times, they deliberately change direction even when the tracks are still clear. This is not hesitation, but a survival instinct shaped over generations. On this land, the presence of a lion does not need to be seen to be felt. It shows in how they move, in the distance they keep from one another, and in knowing when to advance and when to wait. The hunt continues, but from this point on, every decision must be more precise. If you can feel the slow rhythm and the quiet tension of this hunt, don't forget to hit the like button. The silence lingers longer than usual. The scent in the air is still there, but this time it is no longer vague. Ahead, the lion gradually comes into clear view. Its movements are slow and heavy, as if the ground itself is holding it back. The Hads do not rush forward. They stand still long enough to observe the entire space, the distance, the wind direction, and the exhaustion visible in the animal's every movement. This is not a moment of impulse, but the result of countless observations, when all options to avoid the encounter no longer seem possible. One person steps forward half a step. The bow is raised steadily, fully controlled. There is no shouting, no haste. The others remain in place, forming a silent line where every movement carries meaning. In that moment, the savannah seems to hold its breath. The decision is made not to prove strength, but to end a threat that has lasted too long. The lion stops, then slowly lowers itself, as if accepting its own limits within the harsh cycle of nature. When the stillness returns, everything unfolds quickly, without excess. The Hads lower their bows and step back, returning the space to the savanna. For them, bringing down the lion is not a victory, but a necessary ending, one that ensures the safety of the camp and allows life to continue. The air softens, but there is no excitement, because they understand that on this land, every ending carries a lasting responsibility. Was this choice inevitable, a matter of survival, or a difficult boundary to accept? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Which means friend.
As the sunset fades over the savanna, the atmosphere in the Hadzabe camp begins to change. The steps on the way back grow lighter, and conversations become more lively. The tension of the day disappears. Food is prepared in a warm, welcoming mood. Each portion is passed from hand to hand, no one left behind. This meal is not just to fill empty stomachs, but a clear sign that life continues in the best way possible. As everyone begins to eat, conversations flow without pause. Laughter rises naturally, as if the entire camp has finally released what remained after a long, tense day.
On the vast African savanna, where the wind sweeps across layers of dry grass like invisible waves, a Hadza hunter steps into a wild boar hunt using skills passed down through generations. Here, every decision affects not only the individual but is also tied to the meals of the entire community. Yet the hunt does not begin with tracking the prey, it begins with a quiet, almost invisible preparation. Before leaving their living area, the hunters take time to inspect each bow and every arrow that has accompanied them over the years. There are no reminders, no rigid procedures, everything unfolds as naturally as breathing. They pick up an arrow, feel its weight and balance, then set it down if it does not feel right. The bowstring is adjusted with precision, neither too tight to lose control nor too loose to reduce force. These slow, deliberate actions are not just about preparing tools, but also about steadying the mind before stepping into a vast and unpredictable environment. As the group begins to move, the atmosphere remains quiet. No one speaks much, and no one rushes. Their steps are steady, and the distance between each person is naturally maintained. Along the way, their eyes constantly scan the surroundings, the direction of the wind, the position of the sun, the moisture of the soil, and even the smallest signs on the grass. The savanna is never predictable, and only those who understand it can survive in the long term. At this stage, they are not yet searching for wild boars. What matters more is reading the day, reading the terrain, the weather, the rhythm of nature. If an opportunity appears, they are ready to take it, even if it is only a small animal. For the Hadza, an unsuccessful hunt is not a failure, but an inevitable part of life, where patience and understanding are valued more than results. The first signs of wild boars begin to appear. The ground is disturbed, familiar trails emerge, grass is pressed flat against the earth, all like invisible lines of text that only the experienced can read. Yet they do not rush forward. The group pauses, observes carefully, and determines direction and distance. This is where experience becomes the deciding factor, distinguishing fresh tracks from old traces. Each person begins to spread out, taking positions suited to the open terrain. No commands are given, no assignments are needed, everyone knows where to stand and what to do. Patience becomes the most important weapon. Wild boars are highly sensitive and can change direction at any moment. Instead of hastily closing the distance, they wait for the right moment to maintain their advantage.
A different light, not fear, but rage. Wasn't just a tank charging straight ahead.
Throughout the hunt, all senses are fully engaged. The wind direction is constantly checked to avoid revealing their scent. The slightest movements of bushes, fleeting sounds, or subtle environmental changes are never overlooked. This is not merely a chase, but a synchronization with nature, where humans do not dominate, but adapt and move alongside it. When the hunt ends, what remains is not the noise of victory, but a sense of stillness. The group returns with slow, steady steps, as if they have simply completed a familiar part of everyday life. On the savanna, there are no cheers, no grand celebrations, only calmness and understanding. The result of the hunt quickly becomes a shared asset of the entire community. No one keeps anything for themselves. There is no distinction between those who participated and those who stayed behind. For them, a hunt is only truly complete when it is shared. The tasks that follow unfold naturally, no assignments, no reminders, because everyone is already familiar with their role. When everyone gathers, the atmosphere becomes warmer. Stories do not need to be told in words. Through glances, smiles, or a few gentle gestures, everyone understands. What matters is not the details, but the feeling of being together after a long day. The shared meal is not only to satisfy hunger. It is a bond, a way to share time, effort, and results. In these simple moments, the community is strengthened, day by day, meal by meal, in a natural and enduring way. For the Hadza, hunting is not just about survival. It is a way of preserving an ancient way of life, where humans, nature, and community exist side by side. In a constantly changing modern world, such hunts still continue, quietly yet persistently, like the very breath of the savannah. And perhaps, the greatest value does not lie in the prey, but in the journey, where every step and every decision helps preserve a heritage that has endured through generations.